Ready, Bree? I'd like to adjourn the September 19th. No. I'd like to call to order the September 19th, 2024 Airport Commission meeting. Will the airport manager please call roll?
Toutfest. Stinga.
Here.
Bias. Eoff. Matanaga.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Approval of agenda. Excuse me. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Are there any changes to the agenda? Are there any objections to approving the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Approval of minutes of the June 17th, 2024 meeting. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Are there any changes to the minutes? Are there any objections to approving the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Scheduled public comments and presentations, there are none, but you have a,
Public comment at the end or something.
there is, okay, so we have none scheduled, you're not scheduled apparently. Action items, State Forestry non-standard lease agreement. May I have a motion to recommend approval of the State Forestry non-standard lease agreement?
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
report from the airport manager.
Thank you. This is a subject I brought up at the last airport commission meeting. State Forestry approached the city interested in leasing 2 lease lots on the east end of the airport for potential base of operations for both their air and ground support. After that discussion at the last airport commission meeting, we went ahead and engaged the city attorney and the assistant attorney generals with the state, and subsequently went back and forth with the natural progression of attorneys discussing lease language documents. The result, lease document, 2 of them, one for each lease lot, is before you tonight for a recommendation. We did come to a consensus. Most of it was pretty standard legal language in the agreement. 2 government organizations, the city and the state, having, I guess, a statute and rules that we both have to play by. So no significant changes to the nuts and bolts of the lease agreement. It's things like give you an example of the subject to appropriation, some of the fees and penalties that the state can't commit to. So we found them sound and reasonable. The state will operate in good faith, and that the level of risk with the state of Alaska is hopefully not the same with ordinary lessees. So the resulting lease agreement is before you, as noted in the memorandum. Any deviation from the standard lease needs to be approved as to form by the city attorney and formally approved by resolution by the city council. So if a motion were to pass tonight supporting this, we will forward the airport commission's recommendation to the council, and it'll be before them in the form of a resolution. That's ends my report.
Are there any public comments on this item? Are there any commissioner comments on this item? I'd like to call for a vote.
Stinga.
Yes.
Bias.
Yes.
Matanaga.
Yes.
The motion there was a motion made?
Sure, yes, and it was seconded.
You're correct. Okay. And the motion passes.
Next is the FAA off-airport lease agreement. May I have a motion to recommend approval of the FAA off-airport lease agreement?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
report from the airport manager.
Thank you. This is a similar action item, slightly different because it's not on airport property. This is the city owns a piece of property exactly 5 miles from the end of the runway to the east, where the FAA owns and maintains the NDB DME nav aid. That lease between the city and the FAA expires this year and is in need of re-upping. Again, that lease was transmitted to the city and the city attorney. As you can see, it is a whole bunch more obtuse, but that's dealing with the federal government. Probably the most challenging part was myself verifying that we don't use any electronics that are in the do not use list. We do have several surveillance cameras out there, so I had to make sure that they weren't certain brands and manufacturers, which they were not. So we were in the clear there. And I will note that the commission in 2015, the Airport Commission passed a resolution supporting the use of ground-based instrument approach navigational aids for the Slotin Airport. I think a few of you were on the commission at that time. The FAA was considering decommissioning they were proposing the rulemaking on the cancellation of 28 instrument approaches in Alaska, particularly the ground-based non-directional beacon and very high frequency omnidirectional radio range standard instrument approach procedures. At that time in 2015, the Airport Commission passed a resolution supporting the continuation of it, recognizing that the technology may not be the most latest and greatest, but it preserves some of the training and traditional uses at the airport. So before you is the unique lease agreement between the City of Slotin and the FAA. Again, Slotin Municipal Code requires the city to waive the land lease requirements when it's advantageous to the city and involves interest in real property with the United States. So there's no fee. They're not paying us anything. We're grateful that the FAA continues to expend time and energy at our airport, and I recommend do pass.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on this item?
Yeah, come on up and state your name and address for the record. And you have as much time as you want, I think. Technically, it's 3 minutes, but I don't even know how to work that thing.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Name's Paul Manelga. The NDB, as far as I know, it was decommissioned a couple of years ago, and they don't have no intention of bringing it back. Is that not correct? They eliminated all the instrument approaches.
That'd be news to me. Yeah.
So Slotin NDB is no more, as far as I know.
I will reach out. I'm not a pilot and I don't fly out there.
Can you give your history, your experience? I know who you worked for.
Okay, yeah, I did. I retired.
Yeah. Just so they understand.
Yeah, I go back. I'm an air traffic controller, retired from Anchorage Center, and also I retired from Kenai Flight Service and involved with NOTAMing nav aids and whatnot. But as far as I know, and they took away the Class E airspace in the area as well. It's just Class G airspace. If it's an airspace classification that it's used to protect instrument approaches, but the stuff that was here for the NDB approach, as far as I know, it's gone. So it's not just Soldotna now. It's part of a move by the FAA because they're all going to satellite-based type of navigation stuff because it's a lot cheaper. You don't have to have ground things to maintain. But the NDB is probably one of the least cost and most reliable navigation aids the FAA has ever created. You can home in on an NDB if you have the reception from hundreds of miles away. I've heard stories of guys up on the slope back in the day tuning in the early 70s to KFQD out of Anchorage, 50,000 watts, and they've got about 7,000 feet and they could go right to it. So there's advantages to having it, but as far as I know, there's no intent of the FAA to recommission it. I could be wrong.
I will double check. It will not, it wouldn't surprise me if the different silos of FAA were unaware. They reached out to me and said, we need to renew this for that. I've been out to the facility. It's still standing in there. I don't go inside, obviously. So I will reach out and find out. I do know that they were proposing to do it in 2015 and we objected formally for our particular facility, but I'll reach out to the Kenai Flight Center locally because they'd be the ones that are maintaining it. So
Can you refresh my memory on the frequency of that one? You
Of
know?
the Soldot and NDB?
Yeah,
I don't know. There's a note amount that it's out of service or unusable.
If I may,
Yeah.
thank you for your comment.
Yeah,
I did pull up the approach plates for the NDB approach runway 7 and runway 25, and they are both current and are published as available for approaches in the Soldotna. So that is current and exists up through October 31, 2024.
does it have a frequency for the Soldot and NDB?
It does. It's 346 channel
Okay.
106.
And
Yeah.
do they have the, I could be wrong, they could have brought it back. Is there a note amount for that? Because I know you can substitute GPS for navigation aids. So
I recommend checking on it, but
anyway.
and then
I'll
as
look it up.
far as Class
Yeah.
E airspace over the airport, that would definitely still exist at 1,200 feet.
Well, yeah, it does, but they had a lower, lower for the approach.
There is a transition zone that extends out east of the airport that would take the Class E airspace down to 700 feet.
700 feet, yeah, correct. Anyway, yep.
That's
thank
still
you. Yeah.
yeah, thank
current
you.
on the charts.
Thanks, Greg. Are there any other commissioner comments on this? It's out of my wheelhouse.
Mhm.
How do you call for a vote?
Stinga. This is a vote on the motion to recommend approval of the FAA non-standard
I
lease.
guess if it hasn't been decommissioned, then yes.
Bias,
Yes.
Matanaga.
Yes.
We have 3 yes votes. Motion passes.
Airport manager report.
Thank you, Chair Stinga. First thing on the report is the land use inspection report. As noted at the last meeting, the FAA has selected a number of airports over the years to conduct a land use inspection report. That was conducted a couple months ago. We met on site, maintenance manager Sundberg, myself, along with 2 representatives from FAA. They did a generalized airport inspection of the lands, and then they also selected about 15 or so hangars to inspect the inside and the interior. I don't know how they selected them. It could have been random. We contacted all of the lessees with those hangars and coordinated with them to gain access. I thought that the process went really well. I met some of the lessees that I hadn't met before. We toured the inside of a lot of different hangars. You can see the results of that inspection in the packet. The FAA is expecting a corrective action plan by October 31st, and I intend to do that well in advance. As you can note, many of the items noted are administrative in nature, as in, notifying folks that they shouldn't keep RVs at the airport, other non-aviation related items, general upkeep, and the condition of the interior of hangars. One of them was the U.S. Fish and Wildlife hangar, and you can see there's some beds in there, and they noted that. However, in my corrective action plan report, I'll be noting that, those are crew relief stations that when U.S. Fish and Wildlife folks are flying a lot of hours and transitioning between geographic locations in the state, they utilize that, and we'll either get a formal nod of approval from them or not. We did discuss that with them on site, and they didn't raise a significant objection then, so it's kind of surprised to see it in the report. But I will have a corrective action plan and make sure that the Airport Commission is apprised of that. Probably the only other thing that was something that that we're actively working on is some of the lease rate discrepancies. Some of those are easy to identify. The city of Soldotna maintenance shop, the Rotary Park, Pocket Park, and the utility Wellhouse E drinking water utility is on the airport land.
That's these, I know the one is MARC, but the other four is what you just.
No, one of them, several of them are, and those are easy to explain that we're using the square footage of the facility. So of the 50 acres, the well house is using up a really tiny portion. So I'll be breaking that out for FAA. The C-3 is MARC, who we have under agreement that they will provide a pilot's lounge for all users of the airport, to include a restroom and cleaning and the facilities that you see there. One is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. And then there's a couple other that we're actively looking into and digging through some ancient files to just verify how those lease rates were adjusted at that time. So work in progress on those. But hot off the press, wanted to get this in front of you for your review. I'm happy to entertain any questions on that before I move on to the rest of the airport manager's report. Okay, hearing none. Next item on the airport manager's report is the NA at night instrument approach. This is something that MARC brought to my attention actually a while ago. FAA noted, I think, just a handful of trees that had grown into the approach path on the west end. We identified those trees through a survey, cut those trees down, and about 30 more that were within 5 feet, recognizing that they might grow. Notified FAA that we had removed the obstructions and all was well. And then just recently, during the land use inspection report, MARC noted that the NA at night is still listed. So FAA did a little research. They have concluded that the airport needs a night evaluation done by flight check. So the runway 25 night eval was grandfathered in before light commissioning was required for night operations. So essentially, when we did the medium intensity runway lights with the runway rehabilitation project, we had a reimbursable agreement for replacement of the VASIs, the VASIs for PAPIs, and but no flight check for the runway lights. And unbeknownst to us, they will require a flight check for that night eval. So I'm in the process of working with FAA to procure a grant to do that and a couple of other things. And I'll get to that in my next airport manager report. Any questions on that? That's a bit nebulous, but the NA at night approach is still active, and we have pinpointed the reason, which is a flight check for the MIRLs.
Do you know where that's published?
I do not. I would yes, instrument approach and 7. But I'll find it and I will email it out.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Runway 7 on the approach plate.
Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
thanks.
The good news is we've got a great working relationship with FAA Anchorage office and formulating a plan to apply for a grant to conduct that flight check, as well as a NEPA environmental assessment of most of the airport property. So there are additional tree removal projects to conduct on the west end there. We can get a grant for, we applied for a grant for about 300,000 to do even more clearing. And the NEPA categorical exclusion document that we've been using for projects at the airport is now about 20 years old, and environmental section said that we needed to renew that. And when I reached out to qualified cultural assessment company, I think the quote was about $40,000. So that put a little hiccup in progress for that clearing project. So what I've assembled is a grant application to do the flight check, to do the environmental for the whole airport, as well as some wildlife gates in 2 sections of the airport on 2 corners. So that is the ACIP update. The last item on the airport manager report, I will be submitting capital improvement project list and data sheets to FAA to incorporate that flight check to get the NA at night resolved, and all airport NEPA environmental documentation, and then the follow-up obstruction removal, tree clearing project, all on airport property, once those first 2 are accomplished. No other change to the 5-year ACIP. We've done a good job of taking care of a lot of the asphalt and city-owned infrastructure out there. The next couple of items are equipment related, the broom attachment so that we can take care of a little bit of sanding that we do sometimes in the winter, and probably another in dump that we can put a sand spreader on that if we need it. But those are 3 years out. So our main capital priority is the flight check, the all airport NEPA, and the obstruction removal, tree removal. And that concludes my last airport manager report.
Thank you. Commissioner Chair report. I do not have a report. Maintenance Department Manager Sumberg is not here. We do not have a report, nor is the city manager. Are there any public comments? Anyone, members of the public that'd like to comment?
Yeah, again, my name is Paul Manelga. Just, I really appreciate last meeting. You were able to amend my lease or terminate my lease on the lease lot that I had in exchange for signing a new lease in that open hangar that I got from Mr. Grossclose. So I appreciate that. And I'm a tenant now, and I like Soldotna Airport. For full disclosure, I'm on the Kenai Airport Commission. Been there for almost 10 years, occupying the Civil Air Patrol seat. And I have there's no agenda here whatsoever. If you ever need anybody to fill a non-resident seat, I'd be available. Just to let you know.
Perfect.
But I don't have any, like I said, I don't have any complaints. I think the airport seems to be run fine, and just appreciate having the opportunity to get my airplane out there. And it's a lot closer than driving all the way out to Kenai, I guarantee you that. The other thing, I did look up the NOTAM for the Soldotna NDB. It's unserviceable. It's been unserviceable for years. I think, having worked for the FAA for a long time, I think it's just moving through the process. There might be some political aspects to the fact that they don't want to have the actual NDB as being decommissioned, but it's been NOTAMed out of service for a very long time.
I didn't look at this.
Right now, it's NOTAMed out till the end of the year, and they just keep on doing that.
Another 10-year lease.
It's longer than that.
It's 20 years.
This one, I didn't dive into that one. It's 20.
Yeah. But yeah, they can terminate it at any time. You know, there's provisions in the contract for that, but I just,
And if there's no monetary exchange.
no. And I wasn't even planning on commenting on it until I read the packet, and I was here. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Those guys said that they're going to take it out. And I know the tech ops guys that maintain the stuff, Buddy Monroe and all these other guys out here that work at the FAA. So, but that's about it. Thank you for doing the job that you guys do.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's about it. And Mr. Cornelius, Kyle, I'd like to talk to you. I got some questions about doing some work out there, and then I know you're busy. I tried contacting you a couple of times and haven't heard from you, but
Recently?
yeah, I know you. Yeah. I need to upgrade the tie downs in my hangar. I mean, they're just, a couple of them are just really, really bad. And I don't know if I need to get work authorization to go in there with an auger, pull the old ones out, put some new ones in, because they're,
I don't believe so.
Not technically, oftentimes what I'll do is, offer some of the, drawings that we've done,
Mhm.
the tie downs and the apron and stuff. So that how those are constructed, they're pretty simple, like I said.
Yeah.
Auger out, but there's concrete in there and chain. With a good divot so that the chain short enough so that it's bleeding. But if it's on your leased property, we do like to take note of the improvements and make sure they're compatible with airport development. So
Yeah.
simple as like you're doing, call an email. If it's something small, we'll take care of it formally. If it's big, we're doing vertical construction, tanks or, things of that nature, then we can formally.
yeah, I wasn't planning. I had all the cracks sealed by Beer. I called them up and they came out a couple weeks ago and did all the crack sealing out there, just upgrading.
Yeah,
Uh,
standard maintenance and
Yeah.
upgrades.
Marty Guth is my tenant out there, or I'm sharing a spot with him, and his tie downs are just terrible. I gotta make some nicer stuff for him. It's just, but anyway, that's about it. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Any any council comments? Councilmember Parker's not here. Any commissioner comments? I have one. I think we should, on those new West End lease lots, the H lots, I think the city needs to come up with, or somebody needs to come up with a drawing with the existing utilities in place down there. So when we have interested people that want to develop that, they're not in mystery mode. We have some rough drawings, some sketches that were on the master plan, but I don't think anything is relatively definitive. And I think if we want those lots to be developed, we need to show prospective developers where we think the utilities are.
Yeah, thank you for those comments. We have de facto knowledge of where our utilities are. That part's pretty easy, but we too struggle to get accurate locations for other utilities. We recently, in the last month, reached out, or I've asked our GIS technician to reach out to their counterpart at NSTAR and ACS and others to try to get the shape files for GIS. And other utilities to update those, because you're right, we have had, most recently, I've worked with a gentleman interested in leasing a lot and have provided as much information as that we have, but then recommended that they go to other utilities to get that information. And they reported back that it was less than fruitful.
I did notice that NSTAR has located out there a little bit in the last couple of days. To me, we have a good idea where it is, but I think we need to come up with something a little bit more user-friendly that the entire city is aware of. So when someone walks in and wants information on those lots, can hand them something that says the water is about here, the gas is about here, there is no sewer, and here's about where the electric is. And within
Absolutely.
plus or minus 10 feet.
Yep. And we
I
can
think
actually.
that will promote more development in those H lots.
Okay. Our team will develop something and bring it back to the commission for your review. And we can, incorporate some other information about, lease lot costs and anything else that we think is important for basically selling the airport and putting the information at their fingertips, as well as where to go for more information.
I think, putting it at their fingertips
Yep.
is huge, and if we want people to build there.
Sounds good.
It's my only comment. I guess September, was it 19th? Airport Commission meeting 2024 is adjourned.